Citizens Eye Derby has made this short film to look at the partnership between Wild Derby and local Friends of Conservation groups in the city.
My name's Beverley Rhodes. I work for Derby City Council and I'm Wild Derby. Well, what I do as part of the Wild Derby project is I look after, very briefly, wildlife and wildlife spaces across the city, and the aim really is to try and do things like protection and management, but also enhancement for wildlife. So there's lots of sort of little things that we do that try and get wildlife sort of coming forward in the city and not being lost. What I've felt has been most important is that we try and bring people to wildlife and wildlife to people. So we play with that a little bit, can I say that? And we sort of try and set things that allow us to do that more. I feel a local nature reserve belongs to the people that live nearby, so it's a neighbour, isn't it? A local nature reserve is a neighbour, so we work with neighbours, and what's critical is we learn a little bit more about the nature reserve, and we learn a little bit more about our neighbourhood, and what we find is some way of meeting in the middle. And what's critical is that we make it enjoyable. And I think wildlife has that. We get a lot of Spring Watch on the telly now, and characters like David Attenborough are well known. But what this is about what we've got in Derby, and I think there's a lot there that we can sort of investigate and look for and discover, not only about wildlife but about each other, and I think that's quite empowering really, you know, and fun, hopefully. Well, a Friends of group is the embodiment of that relationship really. The local nature reserve is really a line on a map, but the Friends of group is a local group of like-minded people, and what's key is we all understand what we want to do. And we sort of together have a vision about what we think our local nature reserve should look like in the future. And it's loosely surrounding wildlife, and we do want to improve the wildlife in our neighbourhood. And that can be about encouraging wildlife to come back into the city sometimes, and that does happen.
My name's Colin and Jean. I'm chair of the Friends of Sinfin Moor Park and Local Nature Reserve. In 2009, Beverley introduced us to a 5-year management plan, at which, as I say, that goes to 2014. And along with Beverley, who guides us on that, and she comes down twice a year to check along that we're doing it right. And that plan's going very well. Beverley came along and we had this meeting, and we said, hey, this sounds great. We've got a wonderful fields down here, a nature reserve and a lovely park. Let's see what we can do with it and bring people along and get them to know about all these parks and nature reserves down here, which is the second largest in Derby. I always look on Wild Derby like a bicycle wheel. You've got the hub of the wheel, and then you've got the spokes. The hub is Wild Derby with Beverley Rhodes. We're one of the spokes, because there's numerous friends groups. And really what it was, we was really concerned a short while ago when Derby City Council got to name some cuts. And first in line, it looked like Wild Derby would be the one. And I remember a lot of us, and with other friends groups, went along to the temporary council chamber at the assembly rooms 10:30 one night to hear what was going to be brought up. We knew it was going to be brought up about Wild Derby, to see what they got to say. And fortunately, one or two councillors realised what a great thing was happening in Derby with these green spaces. And great news to us, it got carried through. Because we must remember that it's not just for us at this present time, it's for our future generations. And so Wild Derby was saved. It was like winning the lottery. We now do a cafe on a Saturday, and people come in and they learn about it and they say, you know, I never knew this existed down here. Oh, I might come along and be interested in this, which I hope they will do. And through probably the schools that come down and visitors, those children grow up, and often when they come down to the nature, go, well, we've been down before when we did the pond dipping, or we did the meadow sweeping. It's great. The schools from Sinfin all come down, and from Dale School all came down. That's the great thing of having the schools involved.
Yeah, I'm Jean Lung, and I'm a project officer for the Friends of the Park group. And prior to that, I was a volunteer. after being a volunteer for a while, Beverley Rhodes actually applied for some funding so that a project officer could be employed part-time, and I was fortunate to get that position, which was for 1 year.
Why and how did the group form?
He was a local resident. He was walking through the nature reserve area, which wasn't actually an official nature reserve at that time, and he noticed that some birds were making a nest out of old carrier bags, and this fascinated him. So he did a bit of networking and managed to get in contact with Beverley Rhodes at Wild Derby, and she was really interested in this, and from that there was a meeting set up to try and draw more people together to form the Friends group. But it really got launched for the public in May 2008, when, if you look at a lot of these pictures that we have here behind us, are photographs of what happened during that week when we had Radio Derby down for the whole week. We had a whole range of different activities going on for the community, for the good of the nature reserve, wildflower planting, making bird boxes in this building, which at that time we thought it was just changing rooms for the footballers, but as it happened we were looking for somewhere that could be used for the toilets. We had this building opened up and found that there was a lovely community room in here and a kitchen, so that's been a real bonus to us over the last year. We're asked to put events into the Wild Derby booklet, which comes out in the beginning of the year. So we've got things like the Wildflower Walk, this year it was very successful, and Tricia, one of our members, led that, and she really focused on the medicinal purposes and folklore of wildflowers. It was really interesting. And the other one we had was a tree identification walk in the autumn with the beautiful autumn colours of the trees. So those are just a couple of the events that we organise, but as well as that, there are so many different things that we get involved in. Lots of things that we're already doing, we'd like to see them continue. And again, it's a matter of, in some ways, it's a matter of getting grants so that we can continue. We're running a very successful nature club on the third Sunday of the month for families and children who are sort of 11 and under, that kind of age group, and we'd love to see that continue. It does seem to be very much appreciated by those who come. And the cafe itself, we feel we're still in the early stages of that, even though we are running every Saturday, but we'd love to see that really pick up and increase the number of customers that come in. Well, really, one of the main things is just all the lovely people that I've met over the last few years through this network, which really has been created by Beverley. We've got, obviously, the network of all the Friends groups in the city, as well as the pond wardens and other people that are, other groups and organisations that are tied in with Wild Derby.
We've got a great group, and the company of that group, and I think that the companionship is the main thing, not only the fresh air as well in the exercise. It's a winner.
For more information about Wild Derby, contact wildderby@derby.gov.uk or call 01332 255 021.